Reborn with the bone-deep memories of my past life, I no longer have any connection with my cousin, the powerful and influential heir. When he suggested going for a spring outing, I immediately feigned a sprained foot and stayed behind closed doors. The jade hairpin he left on my dressing table soon found its way onto the old madam's head. Even when others mentioned his soon-to-arrive bride, I felt not a trace of jealousy. I discreetly avoided all entanglements with him. The entire manor said I was merely playing hard to get, putting on a petty act after all. They had all seen how desperately and pathetically I had clung to him before, but they didn't know that his aloof and noble demeanor was just a cloak for his twisted, obsessive nature. I had already secretly sold the shops my father left me. I will take the opportunity to leave the capital on the day of his grand wedding, from then on, with mountains high and rivers wide. We shall never meet again in this life or the next. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now the story begins. Perhaps because it was the first time I took the initiative to distance myself from Xiao Yu, no one believed I was truly cutting ties with him. Even the highly respected Lady Xiao thought I was merely acting out of spite. She feared that I might be discontent and cause trouble during Xiao Yu's grand wedding. So she summoned me for a conversation. When I arrived, she was taking a sip of tea. I bowed to greet her, and she slightly raised an eyebrow, placing the exquisite jade cup on the side table with a soft click. The sound was neither too loud nor too soft, yet it carried an air of authority. Wana, what do you think of your cousin's marriage arrangement? I replied indifferently. It should be excellent. I heard that Liu Ruoyun is the eldest legitimate daughter of the Grand Tutor. Talented and beautiful beyond compare, in this capital city, there is truly no one more suited to be with my cousin than her. The old lady's expression softened slightly upon hearing my words. I thought you were the jealous, petty type. It's good that you can think this way. It shows you haven't spent all these years by my side in vain. Then she changed her tone. But when it comes to men, having a few more women to serve them is actually a good thing. After Yu's grand wedding, we'll find an opportunity for him to take you as his concubine. She's thinking about the medicinal sachets I make for her every winter. She suffers from severe asthma, and every winter when it flares up, it's like she's walking through the gates of hell. My family comes from a long line of medical practitioners. The medicine pouch I made has greatly alleviated the old lady's long-standing asthma. However, the ingredients in the medicine pouch are not fixed. They must be adjusted according to the person's constitution and the seasonal temperature. Naturally, she was unwilling to let me go. Thus, whether in my past life or this one, even though I have been of marriageable age for 3 years, she has never concerned herself with my marriage. This counts as the first time. But to be Xiao Yu's concubine, then I'd rather not have been reborn. I quickly stood up and politely declined. Absolutely not. Wana, a lone girl, knows her fate is tough. Though I bear the title of a cousin, it's a distant relation beyond the 5th degree of kinship. The prince's manner taking me in is already a great kindness. I must never repay kindness with enmity, nor diminish the young master's blessings. The old lady was a bit surprised. She thought I would accept with profuse gratitude. After all, the entire capital knew that I couldn't last a day without Xiao Yu. But having spent many years in the inner courtyard, she could tell that my refusal was not feigned. She thought for a moment, then suddenly realized, "Are you worried that Lady Liu won't accept you?" Lady Liu comes from a prominent family, so she naturally wouldn't be petty about such matters. Not petty. I'm afraid there's no one more suspicious, petty, jealous, and malicious than her. She and Xiao Yu, with his despicable, perverted, and insane nature, are truly a perfect match. Marrying into the Xiao family is also an excellent choice. In my previous life, they turned a blind eye to my suffering, even saying that I was being unreasonable and had offended the consort, so I deserved the punishment. It would be best to let Liu Ruoyun enter the household and let them experience firsthand what it truly means to deserve such a fate. The matriarch still wanted to persuade me, but I said, "There's no rush. We can discuss this after my cousin's wedding." After the grand wedding, I had long since left, not caring who she spoke to. I didn't know when Xiao Yu had entered the front hall. It was only when I turned to leave that I saw him standing behind me. His face was frozen, and the hand holding the porcelain cup tightened again and again, his knuckles turning white. Seeing my indifferent expression, a cold sneer curled at the corner of his lips. "Tang Wana, know your limits. Don't do something you'll regret." He also thought I was throwing a tantrum to manipulate him, not wanting any complications before my departure. I lowered my gaze to conceal the irritation in my heart. "Thank you for the reminder, young master. The Crown Prince's wedding is approaching, and with all the busy preparations, there's no need to trouble yourself." With that, I brushed past him and walked away. The prince's residence grew busier by the day as wedding preparations intensified. No one paid me any attention, and I was quite content with that. My love-struck mind from my past life gave me excellent protection, even if I were to jump out now and shout 3 times that I'm leaving. No one would believe I could actually leave Xiaoyu, let alone be on guard against me. They're too busy with their own important matters anyway. I took the opportunity to transfer all the shops I had on hand and deposited the silver notes into the Dachang Bank, which is accepted throughout the entire Great Xia. He also hired a 4-horse carriage with a green canopy, fast and inconspicuous. Everything was ready, and all that remained was to leave. Soon, it was 2 days before Xiaoyu's wedding. In my past life, this very day marked the beginning of my tragic fate. That night, Xiaoyu came to me under the influence of medicine. Because I had feelings for him and saw him suffering as if on the verge of collapse, I mustered up the courage to offer myself. He kept me up all night, and I thought it was mutual affection, but the first thing he said after fastening his belt was, "Tang Wana, considering that you also served as the antidote, I won't pursue the matter of you drugging me any further. Keep your petty thoughts to yourself. You are not worthy of being the heir's consort." I wept in confusion and tried to defend myself, but he sneered and stormed off in a huff. From that day on, he held a grudge against me. It turned out he had promised Liu Ruoyun that they would be devoted to each other for life, but that night I made him break his vow. The entire capital city spread rumors that I willingly took the medicine for Xiaoyu. Until the day I died, I carried this false accusation. Given a second chance at life, I resolved to avoid him on this day. If he were to bleed to death, then so be it, he deserved it. I quietly got up early in the morning, planning to leave the mansion and go to the temple to copy scriptures. Just as I reached the waterside pavilion, I heard people talking ahead. "Isn't that the young lady? How shameless." Knowing the young master was coming to the waterside pavilion, she came here again to pester him. Exactly. I've never seen someone so shameless. The heir is about to get married, and she's still throwing herself at him. TSK. I just said the other day she seemed to have turned over a new leaf and learned some shame. Looks like it was just a scheme to try and manipulate the heir. The servants deliberately spoke loudly when they saw me approaching. I halted in my tracks. Is Xiaoyu coming to the waterside pavilion? Shouldn't he have already gone to the morning court session? I had specifically chosen the time when he would be at court to request the carriage from the estate. There was no time to think too much about it. I turned and hurried off in another direction. Unexpectedly, I ran into Xiaoyu standing beneath the Shuimen gate. In the morning mist, his plain-colored long robe made him appear exceptionally tall and ethereal. He had a high-nose bridge and deep-set eyes. If not for the tragic experiences of my past life, I might have been just like countless other girls in the capital, utterly captivated by his handsome appearance. He seemed to have been standing there for a long time and showed no intention of moving aside when he saw me approaching. The doorway was very narrow, and he was exceptionally tall. I couldn't avoid him, so I gently bowed in a curtsy. "Young master." After the curtsy, I lowered my head and walked past him sideways. "Where are you off to in such a hurry, Wana?" His voice came from behind me. His voice sounded gentle and polite, yet it sent a chill down my spine. In my past life, it was with this same gentle tone that he called my name while committing all sorts of twisted deeds. I didn't want to engage with him, nor did I want him to notice anything unusual about me, so I said, I was planning to go out, but suddenly felt unwell, so I'm going back to my room to rest. Unwell? Did you catch a chill? He reached out to touch my forehead. I was startled and took a step back. How has he changed? In our previous life, he was extremely cold and distant towards me in front of others, never showing me any favor, let alone physical contact. The entire capital knows he has no interest in me, and that I'm the one shamelessly clinging to him. When he goes to court, I help him into his robes. When he returns from court, I help him out of his clothes. Others laugh at me, saying I'm like a chambermaid, but I alone believe he loves me. He doesn't allow anyone else to touch his robes, yet he permits me to do so. Any hairpin I glance at twice appears on my dressing table the very next day. The servants who mocked me were sold off before the night was over, just because I mentioned it. Isn't this proof that he has feelings for me? I thought he was just holding back due to our difference in status and didn't want to show it openly. It wasn't until the next day, after that night's commotion, that the gossip reached Liu Ruoyun's ears. Liu Ruoyun cried for several hours and had a big argument with Xiao Yu. Refusing to get into the bridal sedan, it took Xiao Yu quite a while to coax her before the wedding could proceed. Xiao Yu angrily punished me by making me kneel under the eaves of the bridal chamber for 3 hours. This is what you deserve for ruining our relationship. Rubbing my knees, which were numb from the pain, I thought, forget it, I'll just leave. But I didn't manage to escape. After they got married, whenever Liu Ruoyun was cold to him, he would come and vent his anger on me. Whenever he came to see me, Liu Ruoyun, as the mistress of the household, would subject me to all kinds of torment. She punished me by making me kneel, pricked me with needles, burned me with fire, and even tried to have a groom assault me. If I hadn't drugged the groom into unconsciousness, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Watching me flee the stable in panic, Xiao Yu smiled and coaxed Liu Ruoyun. Are you satisfied now? I know you were jealous, Yuna. She's just a tool to vent your anger. Why bother getting worked up over her? With all those positions, I couldn't bear to let my Yuna use them. That's when I realized he could smile, and he could also be gentle and attentive. His madness was only meant to punish me. The two of them competed in their cruelty, confirming their love for each other by tormenting me. I was worn down to skin and bones, gravely ill and beyond cure. My personal maid, Xiaotsue, couldn't bear to watch any longer. She tearfully begged Xiao Yu to find a physician for me, saying I was on the verge of death, but Xiao Yu only replied indifferently, Tang Wana, you are the one who wronged Yuna. Yuna is too kind to argue with you. What more could you possibly want? How dare you allow your servant to deceive me with such alarming lies? It seems she is no longer fit to stay by your side. Sell her off. On the day Xiaotsue was forcibly taken away, I was racked with illness and pain. Yet I still wanted to fight for her. Xiao Yu, this is Crane's crest red. If you take her away, I will drink it. Playing tricks again. He looked at me with contempt, waved his hand to have Xiao Kui dragged away without a moment's hesitation. He was certain I couldn't bear to leave him and die. Poor Xiaotsue, afraid I would be sad, didn't beg for a single word even as she was dragged away. Instead, she comforted me, saying, don't worry, miss, the family that bought me is also very good. I'll come back to see you once I'm settled, but where could one find a good master? She was sold to the lowest brothel. We grew up together, in the deep, sprawling mansion of the prince's estate. She used her small frame time and again to shield me from the scorn and cold treatment of others, yet I could never do a thing to help her. I have nothing to live for, so I drank the poisoned wine right in front of Xiao Yu. The moment I bled from all 7 orifices was the most satisfying moment of my past life, yet he only fluttered his eyelashes slightly and said indifferently, this time you're acting quite convincingly. Did you use chicken blood or dog blood? Only in death did I realize that in front of someone who doesn't love you, even if you're standing on the edge of a cliff, they'll think you're just admiring the moon. The pain of poisoned wine corroding my heart was originally carved into my very bones. But upon seeing him, it surged up all at once, so intense I could hardly breathe. Watching his hand draw closer, I covered my chest and abruptly turned my head away to avoid it. Thank you for your concern, Your Highness, I just need to rest for a moment. Without hesitation, I turned and left. I was afraid that if I lingered any longer, I wouldn't be able to stop myself from slapping him. I couldn't beat him in a fight, so it wasn't worth risking everything over a minor conflict. Xiao Yu remained motionless for a long time, until I turned the corner. I could still see him standing there, watching Tang Wana walk away with detachment. Xiao Yu felt a tightness in his chest. He wasn't unaware that she had been avoiding him these past few days. He felt as if something was missing, but couldn't quite put his finger on it. Since the day he personally witnessed her refusal to become a concubine, his mind seemed to be in chaos. One moment it was her cool and detached face. The next it was her weeping like a pear blossom bathed in rain beneath him. He couldn't figure out how such vivid images had appeared in his mind. As if they were real, it made him unable to resist the urge, wanting to bully her fiercely, to make her cry and beg for mercy. In his dream, he actually did it. He felt like a pervert, yet he also felt so satisfied. He didn't want to admit that deep down, he enjoyed having such dreams, until he dreamed of her dying right in front of him. He had never imagined that losing her would be so painful, so agonizing that it left him feeling empty in an instant, unsure of what meaning his life held anymore. He woke up startled, covered in cold sweat, his face wet with tears. Even if it was a dream, it felt too real. He couldn't help but immediately get up and run to her courtyard. Only when he saw her alive and well did he finally let out a sigh of relief. He didn't like this feeling of losing control. He thought it must be because she had been acting so unusually these past few days. She looked as weak as a little white rabbit, but she always had her little schemes. Every day she would lift her little face and call him cousin. Wasn't it just to make him pity her and protect her? I've protected her for so long. It's time she learned a lesson, right? If she wants to be cold, then let her be cold. At worst, I'll just coax her a bit after the wedding. I truly regret being careless today. Going out without first finding out about Xiao Yu's whereabouts. What unsettled me the most was the familiarity I saw in Xiao Yu's eyes. It was desire, possession, and also fury. He had always hidden it well, only letting it burst forth when he was tormenting me. Now that Xiao Yu had stopped me, I couldn't very well leave. That lunatic is definitely going to have someone secretly watch me. In my past life, I tried to run away, but I was just an orphan girl, while he held immense power. Everyone in the capital knew I was his forbidden fruit. Where could I possibly escape to? The person watching me had long since informed him. He toyed with me like a cat playing with a mouse, watching me hide and dodge, only to catch me just as I was about to leave the city. Tang Wana, you're being naughty again, playing these little tricks to make me worry about you, aren't you? Just give up on that idea. You should spend your entire life atoning for your sins. He imprisoned me and subjected me to increasingly cruel torment. At the thought of this, a bone-chilling cold runs through my entire body. I had schemed for so long, just one more day of endurance until his wedding day would have been enough. I can't alert the enemy. I went back to my room and lay down. Xiaotsue understood and said, Miss, you look so pale. I'll go find the young master to get a doctor for you. In my past life, I was that kind of love-struck fool, pretending to be sick even when I wasn't, just to make Xiaotsue go find Xiao Yu to get a doctor. Also he would feel sorry for me. I will never do such a mindless thing again. I grabbed her arm. Don't go looking. No physician can cure this illness of mine. I need to sleep, no matter who comes looking for me today. Don't open the door. Xiaotsue's eyes reddened. Is Miss feeling heartbroken because the heir is going to marry Liu Ruoyun? Thinking of her miserable fate in her previous life and seeing how she now revolves around me with her eyes full of me, my heart warmed. I gently tapped her little nose and said, Nonsense, I couldn't be happier that he's getting married. Why would I be sad? Xiaotsue looked at me suspiciously. Sigh. No wonder she didn't believe me. No one in the entire mansion believed me, and even Xiao Yu didn't believe me. By dinner time, Xiao Yu sent someone to summon me, insisting that I join him for the meal. The servant woman who came to deliver the message said harshly, You really don't know your place, pretending to be sick and putting on airs. Could it be that you want the heir to personally come and invite you to dine? How strange. Ever since I was reborn, I've been avoiding Xiao Yu, yet he seems relentless. Fortunately, to make my feigned illness more convincing, I had applied extra powder as soon as I returned, making my face look pale and bloodless. I coughed lightly and spoke weakly to the servant who had come to deliver the message. Please relay my thanks, but I won't be going over. With the royal residence soon hosting a joyous occasion, I wouldn't want to pass on this illness to the elderly madam. The servant, seeing how truly unwell I looked, muttered what bad luck under her breath, then turned and left without another word. I let out a sigh of relief and lay down. The soft brocade quilt carried a faint scent of magnolia. It was a fragrance I loved, one I had personally scented. It's wonderful to be alive. In my past life, how could I have been so foolish to suffer so much for a man? Isn't it better to live well than to be caught up in love and thoughts of life and death? I could go to the south of the Yangtze River or the northern frontier, witness the lone smoke in the vast desert, and also enjoy the romantic scenes of wind, flowers, snow, and moonlight. This is what I truly love in my heart. I have always been a cheerful and lively person by nature. My father was a renowned physician in the medical field, and I was his only child. He often said I had a natural talent for medicine and could carry on his legacy, so he spoiled me to no end. When I was 10 years old, he died while saving the life of Prince Xiao. To demonstrate his gratitude and sense of obligation, Prince Xiao insisted on taking me into his household. Who can truly understand the hardships of living under someone else's roof without experiencing it themselves? In my past life, wasn't my deep affection for Xiao Yu simply because I craved the little warmth he gave me? For him, I became afraid to laugh or make a fuss, always catering to his preferences, and I even thought that was true love. Looking back now, it was all just his way of stringing me along. I certainly won't be fooled again. Don't say he doesn't love me. Even if he did, I would never lose myself for someone else. A life and death experience finally cleared my mind, but since being reborn, I've been unable to figure out who exactly drugged him in my previous life. Lying in bed with nothing to do, I might as well slowly recall. It seems that aside from Xiao Yu coming to find me as an antidote, nothing else has happened. Then why did that person drug me in the first place? I was lost in thought when Xiao Kui called out to me, Miss, a few bolts of Liuguang brocade have arrived at the mansion. The old madam said to give one to you as well. I'll go to the front courtyard to fetch it right away. I couldn't help but freeze. In my previous life, the prince's mansion also received the flowing light brocade on this very day. However, it was prepared for Xiao Yu's grand wedding. How could it possibly be my turn? For some reason, I felt an inexplicable unease and wanted to tell Xiao Kui not to go, but in the blink of an eye, Xiaotsue had already cheerfully left the courtyard. I had no time to stop her, so I quickly went to bolt the door. Night fell, and Xiaotsue still hadn't returned. Remembering how Xiaotsue had been beaten until she was covered in blood and forcibly dragged away in my previous life, I couldn't help but worry about her. Then it occurred to me that at this moment, I hadn't had any conflict with Xiao Yu. So Xiaotsue shouldn't be in any danger, she was probably just delayed somewhere. She's still young, so it's not surprising that she's playful. If I go out rashly and run into Xiao Yu, that would be dangerous instead. So I returned to my bed. At that moment, footsteps sounded at the courtyard gate, so familiar. In my past life, hearing these footsteps meant a nightmare was coming. My heart panicked, and I jumped off the couch, wanting to escape, but I immediately stopped in my tracks. Xiao Yu was right at the door. Where in the entire estate could I possibly escape to? My mind raced furiously. In my past life, he had also stood outside the courtyard gate and called out softly to me, "Wana, I'm not feeling well. Do you have any medicine?" I could tell from his flushed face what was going on, so I quickly sent Xiao Kui away. Xiao Kui is still not here in this life, but it wasn't me who sent her away. Something's wrong, something's not right here. Xiao Kui was sent to fetch the flowing light brocade and never came back. That flowing light brocade was specially requested by Xiao Yu from the Emperor's tribute items to give to Liu Ruoyun. Without his approval, who else would dare to handle it? So the one who found an excuse to send Xiaotsue away could only be him. Suddenly, it all became clear to me. He must have drugged himself. Right, if he truly resented me, he should have stayed far away. Why would he come looking for me again and again? If he was the one who drugged himself, then everything that didn't make sense suddenly makes sense. He wanted to take action against me, but because of Liu Ruoyun, he claimed he had been drugged. In my previous life, he was certain he could deceive me into softening my heart, but in this life, because I had been cold to him for the past few days, he grew uncertain and first sent Xiaotsue away. Even if he were to force himself on me, others would only believe him, not me. I would bear the blame. Satisfy his lust, and yet leave his reputation for being aloof, noble, and devoted completely intact. What a sinister and vicious person. At this moment, I was trembling with rage, and hatred gradually filled my chest. Asterisk tap, tap, tap asterisk. 3 light knocks sounded on the door. "Wana." He called out to me softly, his voice trembling just as it had in our past life. My blood ran cold. I know how crazy he is. How could that small door possibly stop him? I have to escape quickly. But where can I escape from? There are walls all around. By the time I find a ladder to climb over, it might be too late, and the noise would surely alert him. If Xiao Yu were to force his way in, I wouldn't be fast enough to stop him. In a moment of desperation, I remembered there was a dog hole in the side wall. Although on the other side, to hell with it. Hesitation brings disaster. It's still safer than facing Xiao Yu. I didn't even have time to put on my shoes. Swiftly crawling through that dog hole to find my neighbor and arch-rival, General Shenlang. To be precise, he was Xiao Yu's rival. In my previous life, I opposed him at every turn for Xiao Yu's sake. He had just returned from the border and immediately impeached Xiao Yu, so I slipped him laxatives yesterday. I even carefully controlled the dosage so it would take effect right in the Grand Hall. He twisted his hips left and right, and was reprimanded by the Emperor for lacking proper decorum. Then sent back to his residence to reflect on his mistakes. He took the imperial physician's medicine for a whole day before the diarrhea finally stopped. He hated me so much that he gritted his teeth, cursing me for several hours straight in the courtyard during the day. "Tang Wana, just you wait. If I don't teach you a lesson, I'll take your surname." I'm really asking for trouble. Fortunately, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, so we can be considered old friends. Moreover, the only person in Great Xia who can rival Xiao Yu is Shenlang. If I don't seek him out, who else can I turn to? I lightly tapped on the window to wake him up. "Hey, do you want to marry me?" I just came up with a perfect plan while crawling through the dog hole. Shenlang leaned against the window, mocking me. "Why aren't you following behind your crazy prince brother anymore? Did he find a new favorite and dump you?" In my past life, he had warned me that Xiao Yu was a madman, saying that only men truly understand men, but I foolishly didn't believe him and even called him a toad with delusions of grandeur. "I'm filled with nothing but regret now," I shamelessly said. "What does he have to do with this?" "It's because you, General Shen, are peerless and majestic beyond compare in this world. Marrying me would be a perfect match for us. I've been competing with him since I came to the prince's mansion at the age of 10, so I naturally know how to handle him. He can't stand hearing women say nice things to him." Sure enough, his face turned red, and he stammered, "Dream on, dream on, dream on." He rejected me and had to say it 3 times. Afraid I wouldn't hear him clearly. How considerate of him. Then I can't give up on him even more. I earnestly tried to persuade him. "General Shen, look, you're a general, and I know medicine. If you get stabbed by knives or swords, I'll bandage you up. If you lose an arm or a leg, I'll treat you. Isn't this a match made in heaven? Besides, in this capital city, I'm considered quite good looking, right? I suggest you think it through. I'm your best choice." His lips trembled. "Can't you wish me something better?" But I was telling the truth. In his previous life, I heard he had a sweetheart. But no one knew who she was. He waited for that sweetheart his whole life. Never married, and ended up dying tragically on the battlefield. It would have been better if he had just settled for me. This is for his own good, really. Stop dawdling and make it quick. Are you going to agree willingly, or do I have to force you to agree? He had no time to answer before someone climbed over the wall into the courtyard. I turned and ran. He called out urgently in a low voice from behind. "Why are you running? This is my courtyard. What is there to fear?" I haven't finished speaking. Dreaming. What? Hidden in the tree. I couldn't hear clearly, but I could clearly see who had arrived. It was Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu strode to the center of the courtyard. I was hiding in the tree, while Shun Lang crouched by the window. He glanced around, his gaze darkening as it settled on Shun Lang's direction. "General Shun, what are you doing leaning against the window in the middle of the night?" Shun Lang looked innocent, admiring the moon over the capital. "Is the Crown Prince now even going to control how I lean against the window? Besides, since the Crown Prince knows it's the middle of the night, what is your purpose in barging into my courtyard?" Xiao Yu's face was ashen. "The calico I raised has been sneaking around and ran off in the middle of the night. I'm worried it might have wandered in here by mistake." That calico wasn't raised by him. It was a little kitten I picked up, in our previous life. He took his anger out on me and tortured it to death right in front of me. If I hadn't paid an unspeakable price, it would have died long ago. Shun Lang glanced at me with a faint smile and said, "Oh, so the young master has come to my general's mansion to look for a cat. I thought there might be a secret lover hiding here, and you were here to catch them in the act. But I recall this mansion has both a main gate and smaller doors. Why trouble yourself to climb over the wall? Could it be that the young master has a penchant for leaping over walls, like Zhong Sheng in the opera? I knew I didn't misjudge you. In the entire Great Xia Kingdom, only Shun Lang dares to confront Xiao Yu without any reservations." One was sharp-tongued, the other was tight-lipped. Xiao Yu was left speechless, radiating nothing but an overwhelming chill from his entire being. He ignored Shun Lang and turned around to continue searching everywhere. Shun Lang didn't mind at all, and even leaned on the windowsill with great interest to watch. I was so anxious up in the tree that I kept waving at him, signaling for him to quickly send the person away. But damn him, he didn't say a word, just kept smiling foolishly as if he had drunk a love potion. And damn it, the moon tonight was especially big and round, so Xiao Yu only needed to look up to see me clearly. My heart was in my throat, thinking of Xiao Yu's madness. Even in this sweltering weather, I couldn't help but shiver. I deeply regretted giving Shun Lang that laxative. I should have at least left some room for dignity. He wouldn't have put on that insufferable look of someone who enjoys watching the drama unfold. He probably can't wait for me to be caught and beaten to a pulp. It seems I can't count on him to help me. I'll be lucky if he doesn't sell me out, but if I rely on myself to escape, the conditions aren't right yet. Just as I couldn't think of a way, Xiao Yu had already walked under the Osmanthus tree. He stopped right at my feet, and with just a lift of his head, he could see me. If he discovered me, it would be all over. I didn't even dare to think about that night in my past life when, under the influence of medicine, he dragged me into that exhausting ordeal. Panicked and terrified, I broke out in a cold sweat in an instant. His hand trembled involuntarily, the branch shook along with it. Xiao Yu glanced down at the tree shadow, gave a dark smile, and slowly lifted his head. Just as Xiao Yu was about to look up, Shun Lang suddenly spoke. His tone was casual, yet it was a blatant provocation. "This is the general's manner. I wonder what His Majesty would think if he knew the young master had climbed over the wall." Xiao Yu's face darkened. "I'm looking for a cat. What does it matter even if His Majesty finds out? I wonder if His Majesty shares the young master's thoughts. I just returned to the capital from the northwest camp. And you had to climb over the wall to see me tonight. Our two residences are next to each other. Is there anything we can't discuss openly during the day?" Oh dear, the more I talk, the more it feels like even I'm not above suspicion anymore. Forget it, I suppose I'll just have to bear the loss this time. Let's just say you have a fondness for male beauty, and I have a penchant for same-sex love. You, shut up. Under the moonlight, Xiao Yu's face was as red as blood. I knew his medicine was taking effect. He must have searched everywhere for me and, hearing noises from the neighboring general's residence, recklessly jumped over to catch me. I've experienced firsthand just how impatient he can be, but Shun Lang didn't know he had been drugged and was still teasing him. "Hey, why is your face so red, young master? Did I hit a nerve? Oh my, you don't actually have feelings for me, Do you? Why not come to my room for a chat? I don't mind letting you take advantage of me." With that, he leaned forward intending to grab Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu choked back a retort, flicked his sleeve, and vaulted back over the wall. I suppose he couldn't endure the burning desire and hurried off to find an antidote. Even so, I still clung desperately to that tree branch, trembling and unable to regain my composure for a long time. Shen Lang raised an eyebrow and shouted at me, "Hey, that cat, the weasel has already gone back. Are you planning to spend the night in the tree?" Only then did I sheepishly jump down from the tree and walk toward the window. His expression suddenly changed, and he waved his hands while stepping back repeatedly. "Don't come over, don't come over, you definitely have bad intentions." He's been ambushed by me so many times that he's developed a self-preservation instinct. I deliberately blinked my eyes. "General Shen, what ill intentions could I possibly have? It's just that you're so dashingly handsome, and I've admired you for a long time. Would you like to consider the proposal I just made?" He took 2 more steps forward, scrutinizing me closely. "Have you been possessed by evil spirits? Are you really going to throw away your dignity for that lunatic? Your beloved prince is getting married tomorrow. At this point, you still refuse to give up and want to use me to provoke him. I'm telling you, Tang Wana, wake up, you pig-brained fool. Even if you were with a god, you wouldn't be able to provoke him." His mouth was as poisonous and sarcastic as ever, not leaving me any face. But for the first time, I didn't argue back and even nodded vigorously in agreement. Shen Lang was right. Others have always seen it clearly. Only I was blind and foolish. But I disagree with his contempt for me being shameless. While having a sense of shame is important, being shameless makes one invincible. I shamelessly made up an excuse. "General Shen, you've misunderstood. It's not that I want to use you to provoke him. I want to use him to provoke you. I have admired you for a long time. Who knew you simply wouldn't believe my sincerity?" I looked downcast and forced out 2 tears. Since I was little, whenever I cried, he would get flustered. Sure enough, he panicked. "Hey, don't cry, I never said I didn't believe you. Such a big matter, you have to give me some time to think it over." "Right, think it over. With my reputation as it is, once he figures it out, would he still marry me? Besides, even if he has time to think, I don't have time to wait." 2 more tears welled up as I pulled out the embroidered pouch I always carried. "I made this for you while missing you day and night when you were at the border. It even contains the candied fruits you like, but it seems unnecessary now. I'll just throw it away." I pretended to throw it, but Shen Lang reached across the windowsill and snatched it away. He poured out several pills and tossed them all into his mouth at once. "I've eaten them, you go back first." Tomorrow during the day, he had only spoken a few words when he suddenly stopped. Then he roared, "Tang Wana, you little brat, just you wait." As he said this, he made as if to jump out the window, but I had already closed the window before he could, holding it shut firmly and refusing to open it. "Little General, if you try to force me, I will scream. Do you agree with the proposal I just made or not?" The room fell into complete silence. I pressed further. "Speak up, will you marry me or not?" After a long pause, I heard him say through gritted teeth, "Fine, I agree to marry you. I'm going to open the window now." "Don't scream," I replied obediently. "Okay." The window swung open abruptly. Shen Lang leaped out of the window, his face flushed red, and dashed straight toward the restroom. The laxative I carried with me tonight truly worked like a charm. Relying on others' pity is nowhere near as dependable as relying on one's own skills. Shen Lang scurried away like a wisp of smoke, and the night breeze carried his voice. "Tang Wana, you're something else." He was so anxious yet still remembered to compliment me. He's really quite polite. I patted my chest with relief and satisfaction. Among his qualities, keeping promises is one he truly possesses, since he promised to marry me. He definitely won't go back on his word. I swiftly climbed over the wall and returned to my own courtyard. I was not well regarded in the prince's mansion, living in the most remote corner. Originally, the adjacent general's mansion also had the most remote courtyard, meant for servants. But Shen Lang said that since he was often stationed at the border, it would be a waste to occupy other courtyards, so he used this one. This just saved my dog's life. I went back and forth without anyone noticing. I quietly slipped back into my boudoir. As soon as I pushed the door open, I saw Xiao Yu sitting upright on my bed, playing with my embroidered shoe. His hands were dripping with blood. I was secretly startled. That aphrodisiac could also be neutralized by cutting the fingertips and drawing blood. It would just be extremely painful and drain a lot of energy. In my previous life, I pitied him and never told him. He claimed he knew nothing about aphrodisiacs. Yet now he knows how to counteract them. This only proves he was the one who administered the drug. I was so furious I felt like my skull was about to burst open. Hearing the door open, Xiao Yu didn't even look up, casually remarking, "Wana, You didn't even put on your shoes, where were you in such a hurry? His voice was extremely slow and gentle, as if filled with boundless affection for me. It sent chills down my spine. In my past life, whenever he spoke to me like this, it meant he was seething with rage inside. He would spend the entire night tormenting me in various ways, and no matter how much I begged and cried, he would never stop. I couldn't help but shrink back. He didn't move his body, only slowly raised his head. His possessive, blazing gaze, just like in our past life, scorched me until my whole body burned. Come, Wana, be good, come here, let your brother see if your foot is injured. I stood there frozen, unable to run. I couldn't outrun him. And provoking him would only drive him mad for nothing. Seeing that I was determined not to move, he stood up and began walking toward me step by step. Naughty Wana must be punished. His hoarse voice sent chills down my spine. This was what he always said before he abused me in our previous life. Could it be that he remembers our past life? I gripped the doorframe tightly with my hand, yet pretended to be leaning there weakly and helplessly. I had to stall him without giving away any hint of my true intentions. I'm afraid I accidentally got some of the laxative I gave to the neighbor yesterday. I can't even count how many times I've run to the restroom today. The diarrhea won't stop. I didn't even have time to put on my shoes. I can't stand the smell on me. The heir is about to have a joyous occasion. Don't let this taint you. Is that so, Wana? I almost forgot. Wana loves to drug people. Xiao Yu's hot breath sprayed against my ear, making me hold my breath involuntarily. He raised a hand and plucked a leaf from my hair. TSK. When Wana lies, she's truly convincing. I don't recall there being an osmanthus tree in your courtyard, but I remember there was one next door, tall and lush. I suppose if someone were hiding there, they'd be completely concealed. That lunatic had already spotted me just now. He is toying with me like a cat playing with a mouse in a past life, waiting for me to walk right into his trap. What a pervert. As he spoke, he spread his arms and locked me tightly in his embrace like an iron hoop. No matter how hard I struggled, I couldn't break free in the slightest. I could even feel the abnormal, burning heat swelling. I desperately tried to kick him in the groin, but his martial arts skills were not weak, and he easily trapped one of my legs. Are you getting impatient? Wana, take it slow. Whatever you want, I will give it to you. His other hand had already found its way to my sash. These past few days, I keep dreaming of you weeping so pitifully beneath me, yet clinging so tightly, leaving me utterly unable to resist. Wana, you truly are a little temptress. These brazenly humiliating words were exactly the same as when he used to demean me between the sheets in our past life. I abruptly turned my head, avoiding his impending kiss, and called out loudly, Miss Liu, what brings you here? Xiao Yu's body stiffened abruptly. He almost instinctively turned to look at the door, a flicker of panic flashing in his eyes that he had no time to conceal. I thought the words Miss Liu had brought him back to his senses. After all, in his previous life, he had acted so deeply in love with her. But the doorway was empty. Realizing he had been deceived, his shame and anger instantly transformed into even more violent strength. With one swift motion, he tore my outer garment to shreds. He had truly gone mad. At the critical moment, I took a desperate gamble and shouted, Shen Lang. The privy he went to was closer to my courtyard than any other courtyard in the prince's mansion. I bet he could hear me. Xiao Yu thought I was trying to trick him again. So he didn't even turn his head and just pinched my cheek. TSK, you've been flirting with other men. If I, Xiao Yu, want someone, even if I no longer want them, they should be dead and buried. Who dares to lay a finger on them? Humiliation and anger instantly multiplied my courage. At worst, it's just death. Why should I be afraid of him? Heh, so you admit you want me, don't you? Still saying I seduced you, still talking about spending a lifetime with Liu Ruoyun, just the two of you. What's with the act of being aloof and pure? You two are just like a broken pot with a broken lid. Xiao Yu, having had his fig leaf torn away by me, simply became even more beastly, his large hand about to tear off my undergarment. I was poised and ready, waiting for him to lower his head so I could bite his neck. Suddenly, a clear, impatient clicking sound came from outside the window. I can't even take a shit in peace. Tang Wana, didn't I already promise to marry you? I'll come to your house to propose during the day. What are you howling about in the middle of the night? It's Shen Lang. I bet right again. It seems that whenever I meet him, I always bet right. Xiao Yu's movements came to a complete halt, his face turning extremely grim under the moonlight. He suddenly turned his head to look at the door. Shen Lang slowly emerged from the shadows, the moonlight illuminating half of his body. He was still clutching a belt haphazardly in his hand, looking as if he had been caught in the middle of relieving himself, but his eyes were strikingly bright. Tang Wana, come here, he shouted at me. Xiao Yu glared at him, his eyes cold and sharp. Wana, don't move, General Shen. What is the meaning of your visit to my manor in the middle of the night? Shun Lang curled his lips into a mocking smile. So it's the heir of Huayan Prince, in the dead of night, instead of preparing for your grand wedding, you're here guarding my fiancé. Xiao Yu's pupils contracted sharply as he turned to look at me, his eyes filled with disbelief and the fury of betrayal. Fiancé, you dared to secretly pledge your life to another behind my back. Taking advantage of his stunned and distracted moment, I mustered all my strength and finally landed a solid kick. Shun Lang simultaneously reached out and pulled me over. I, Xiao Yu, respect Wanna and do not wish to make things difficult for her, nor do I want her to gain any unfavorable reputation. Tonight, I will stand guard atop the mansion walls. If anyone dares to defy her wishes again, even if the Prince of Xiao were to be reborn, my arrows will show no mercy. Xiao Yu's face turned from red to pale, then from pale to ashen. He stared at me intently. Wanna, tell me with your own words. Everything he said is a lie. I looked back at him without a trace of fear. Xiao Yu, you disgust me. A cold laugh escaped through his clenched teeth. Fine, very well, Tang Wanna. You've gone to such great lengths, isn't it all just to get my attention? I warned you to know when to stop. You'll regret it if you don't listen. I spat out, if you're sick, go see a doctor. He straightened his sleeves, which had been wrinkled during my struggle, and resumed his usual reserved demeanor. General Shun, my wedding is the day after tomorrow. Come have a celebratory drink. Shun Lang waved his hand dismissively. I have no interest in you or your hypocritical bride. It took me a long while after Xiao Yu left to snap back to reality, my legs going weak and nearly causing me to stumble. Shun Lang said, look at how useless you are, with me watching your back. What is there to fear? I retorted. And what arrow in your hand are you talking about? Just look at what you're actually holding. Shun Lang lowered his head for a glance, his face flushing bright red. Damn it, he leaped onto the wall in a single bound. The night finally returned to tranquility. I should have avoided the beginning of the tragedy from my previous life, but new trials have been added. Originally, I intended to leave quietly, but after what happened tonight, that is no longer possible. Fortunately, I have devised a perfect plan to leave with Shun Lang's help, leaving the capital. With the vast sky and distant lands ahead, I'll just go my separate ways from him. He has someone in his heart, he won't force me, and in this life, I won't tie myself to a man's side again. He protects me as I leave, and I'll leave him with the best healing medicine. From now on, I can supply all the medicinal supplies for their military camps wounded. Doing business also saves lives. Pay more if you have money, less if you don't. Quality guaranteed, a win-win for both. Even if Xiao Yu pressures the emperor, surely the son of heaven can't forbid the young general from taking a wife. Can he? In my past life, I was truly blinded by foolishness. Always hoping that Xiao Yu would soften his heart, and never once thought of such a brilliant method. Shun Lang truly stayed on the wall all night. As soon as day broke, he jumped down and said to me, stay by the dog hole for a while. If you notice anything wrong, just crawl through. I've left someone there for you. I need to go find my father and mother to propose marriage now, I said. What if they don't agree? He blurted out, they won't. They're more anxious about this than anyone else. I was taken aback. Why? His face suddenly flushed red. The betrothal gifts have long been prepared. You can rest assured. With that, he leaped over the wall and disappeared. I chased after him but couldn't catch up. I wanted to tell him that betrothal gifts weren't necessary, just going through the motions would have been enough. Tomorrow is the official day of the grand wedding. The prince's residence is bustling with activity. General Shun and his wife personally brought the matchmaker to the door. Although the old lady was displeased, she dared not neglect them and hurried out to welcome them. The iceman stated his purpose. The old lady frowned. This matter needs to be discussed with Yua. She did not want me to leave the prince's mansion. Lady Shun said, although Miss Tang lives in the prince's mansion, she and Prince Xiao are already beyond the 5th degree of kinship. Does this matter still need to be discussed with young Master Xiao? Her meaning was clear to everyone. Even the old madam couldn't make the decision, let alone a mere young master. Her coming to propose marriage was already giving them face. The old lady choked a bit and explained, it's mainly because Wanna and her cousin grew up together since childhood. And their affection for each other is very deep. Lady Shun, that's true, she and Langer also grew up together since they were young. If we're talking about affection, theirs is even deeper. No, a low yet authoritative voice rang out. Xiao Yu happened to be returning from court. Wanna will not go anywhere. She will only stay in the prince's mansion. This was the decision Xiao Yu had made after thinking it over all night, ever since those scenes appeared in his mind. His inner longing had grown stronger and stronger. The thought of Wanna behaving that way with someone else made him feel a surge of anger churning inside him. The colder the exterior, the more the heart feels scorched by a flame. He felt the urge to kill. so he decided to keep her in the royal residence. But he couldn't say it too explicitly. After all, he had to consider Liu Ruoyun's dignity. As soon as his words fell, everyone exchanged glances. What does it mean to stay in the royal mansion? Never marry for life, or marry one of the Xiao family's descendants. The hall grew cold. It was Lady Shen who spoke first. This matter, perhaps we should ask Miss Tang her own thoughts. She has no father or mother, nor can others casually decide for her. Xiao Yu took off his cloak and said indifferently, then summon Wanna and let her speak for herself. He always believed that Wanna would never bear to leave him. The old lady chuckled. Right, let Wanna speak for herself. She thought to herself, I'm sure to choose Xiao Yu. I trotted from the dog hole to the main hall. Lady Shen looked at me with such kindness that it reminded me of my own mother. My eyes reddened, and I almost cried. Lady Xiao said confidently, Wanna, you tell us yourself. Do you want to marry General Shen, or stay by your cousin's side? I stepped forward slowly and bowed. Wanna is grateful for the generous care the prince's manor has provided over the years. Xiao Yu and the old lady both breathed a sigh of relief. General Shen and his wife furrowed their brows tightly. The old lady took my hand and said, Good child, what I mentioned the other day about your cousin taking you in after his marriage still stands. Lady Shen sighed. Alas, it seems Langus' efforts have once again been in vain. Xiao Yu stated, since this matter concerns the prince's household affairs, there's no need for the general's residence to be involved. General Shen and his wife stood up in disappointment. I quickly said, Please wait a moment. I want to express my gratitude to the prince's residence for taking me in, because I will be leaving the residence after marrying Shen Lang. Xiao Yu's body suddenly stiffened. What did you say? He didn't even care about maintaining proper decorum. Stepping forward as if to grab me, Lady Shen quietly pulled me over and gently patted my hand, saying, Good child, I've finally waited for you. The words good child made my eyes well up with tears again. In my past life, I was cursed at, mocked, looked down upon, and trampled underfoot. When had I ever imagined that I could be seen as a good child in someone else's eyes? Because of these 3 words, even if I were to marry the young General Shen in name only, I would still treat Lady Shen as kindly as my own mother. Lady Shen pulled me to sit beside her and had the matchmaker continue discussing the wedding matters, such as the matching of the birth charts. General Shen will be returning to the frontier by mid-next month. The family's intention is to have the engagement settled before then. We are aware that the time is quite tight, so the betrothal gift list has been prepared in advance. As she spoke, the matchmaker pulled out a long list. I looked and saw it was about 10 feet long. I grabbed it and took a look first. They were truly sincere. There were even 4 pairs of wild geese. The jewelry, accessories, calligraphy, and paintings were dazzling. The Xiao family won't provide me with any dowry, and I won't leave these things with the Xiao family either. I said, I wish to accompany General Shen to the borderlands. I want neither dowry nor betrothal gifts. All I ask is that the wedding ceremony follows the customary rites. Lady Shen sighed. Oh, this child, even if you refuse the dowry, old Madame Xiao will still give it. The betrothal gift is the Shen family's sincerity, meant to honor the young lady. It cannot be refused. As long as General Shen and I live well together, that is the real honor. Lady Shen, you're right. The 2 of you living well is more important than anything. General Shen, are you really going to accompany Langer to the border? It's bitterly cold there. It's no joke. A wife follows her husband's lead. If he's going, of course I'm going too. He isn't afraid of the bitter cold, and neither am I. Besides, I've always wanted to see those desert landscapes he's been talking about. I was getting along better and better with the Shen family. While Xiao Yu's face grew increasingly darker, Mrs. Shen, it would be even better if you could start a family and have children soon. Her words made me blush. Xiao Yu suddenly stood up. I disagree. Wanna cannot marry someone else. Lady Xiao softly reminded him. She too had noticed that Xiao Yu was acting rather unusual, even to the point of being discourteous. This is not up to you. General Shen spoke up. Xiao Yu frowned deeply. Then it's even less up to the Shen residence. The main hall was instantly filled with tension. As if swords were drawn and bows bent, an elderly woman walked in. I didn't quite understand from outside the hall just now, why is the heir apparent preventing Miss Tang from getting married? As soon as she appeared, Xiao Yu slowly sat back down. The newcomer was none other than Liu Ruoyun's aunt. While waiting by the dog hole earlier, I was thinking that given the Xiao families and Xiao Yu's usual behavior, they wouldn't easily let me go. If the Shen family were to forcefully marry me, a direct confrontation between the 2 sides would only result in mutual destruction. Xiao Yu got what he deserved. But what did the Shen family do to deserve this? I can't plant a ticking time bomb for the Shen family before I've even married into their household. So I quickly had the guards Shen Lang left for me pretend to be from the Xiao residence and go find Imperial Tutor Liu's sister, saying that the Xiao family had invited her to discuss the bridal trousseau. According to the customs of the Great Xia Kingdom, a paternal aunt is supposed to contribute to the bridal trousseau. Aunt Liu, suspecting nothing, came as soon as she entered the main hall. Xiao Yu fell silent, his sanity finally returned. He had no right to stop me from getting married in the first place, especially not in front of the Liu family, and so it was settled. The 8th day of next month is an auspicious date. After marrying Shen Lang, I went with him to the border, but I always felt a bit unsettled. After all, I knew how filthy and insane Xiao Yu was beneath his cold exterior. And I was aware of his ability to wield immense power in the Great Xia Kingdom, so I said that to thank the old lady for her kindness over the years, I would go to the temple to copy scriptures and pray for her. The old lady was very happy. On the night of Xiao Yu's grand wedding, the Hurian prince's mansion was adorned with lanterns and colorful decorations, bustling with guests and full of lively celebration. I was in the meditation room of a temple outside the city, listening to the faint sounds of revelry in the distance, feeling completely at peace within. Xiao Kui stayed by my side, hesitating as if she wanted to say something but held back. "Miss, you said, the young master I interrupted her, gently blowing dry a page of scripture I had just copied. "Whatever he does has nothing to do with us." I knew that tonight, in the bridal chamber, a well-planned drama I had orchestrated would unfold. In my previous life, on the night of Xiao Yu and Liu Ruoyun's wedding, they were deeply affectionate, and yet, I knelt in the corridor for 3 hours, leaving my knees with a lasting ailment. In this life, I also gave them a small gift. I hired a courtesan, quite famous in Pinkang Ward, and under the guise of a friend from the past, secretly sent Liu Ruoyun a portrait of Xiao Yu in the nude. In the painting, Xiao Yu's eyes and expression were vivid, as if brought to life. More importantly, the colored ink was specially made, and its scent could provoke irritability in anyone who smelled it. Liu Ruoyun, who was already highly suspicious by nature, would inevitably scrutinize it over and over again. Even the gentlest of women can be driven to madness under provocation, let alone someone who was inherently a shrew at heart. Sure enough, in the dead of night, the sound of an argument echoed from the bridal chamber of the prince's mansion. In the hidden part of that portrait, I had the painter add 2 crimson moles. Their position and size were exactly the same as those on Xiao Yu's body. Only someone intimately familiar with his skin could have known. Liu Ruoyun initially thought the painting was a setup, but upon discovering that Xiao Yu's private features matched the portrait perfectly, she was instantly consumed by rage. "Xiao Yu, you've gone too far." The sound of shattering porcelain, accompanied by Liu Ruoyun's hysterical screams, echoed all the way outside the prince's mansion. "Unreasonable. I told you someone set me up." Xiao Yu's patience had run out, his voice icy cold. He couldn't understand how this gentle and delicate girl had suddenly become so fierce and aggressive. That night, their wedding chamber and nuptial candles were well deserved for the viciousness they had shown me in their previous lives. The next day, the news of the Huayan prince's heir and his bride turning against each other on their wedding night, with the bride's notorious jealousy causing a huge scene, became the biggest joke discussed by court officials and even the common people of the capital during their leisure time. Although the temple was a quiet place, it was not necessarily safe, especially after Liu Ruoyun's outburst. Xiao Yu's temperament would surely lead him to abandon her. I guessed he would come looking for me. Sure enough, I noticed unidentified individuals lurking around the temple. Shen Lang noticed it too, without a word. He moved directly into the temple to stay, claiming it was to pray for the soldiers at the border. I said, "Come into my room and have a cup of tea." He scratched his head, his face reddening, and said, "I don't want to ruin your reputation." He never stepped into my inner chamber, but every night he would sit leaning against his sword on the courtyard wall outside my meditation room. Seeing how hard he was working, I said, "Shen Lang, come down and rest. If anything happens, I'll call for you." Under the moonlight, he shook his head, the silver-white hair ribbon fluttered gently, like a painting. My heart skipped a beat without me realizing it. Shen Lang was actually quite beautiful. I used to be so focused on opposing him that I never noticed. He said with a smile, "It wasn't too hard. When guarding the border, it's common to go days and nights without sleep. Once, a snow wolf attacked the horse caravan, and I led troops to capture it. We lay in wait in a snow hollow for 3 days before we finally caught it. I'll take you to see it when you come over." "All right," I softly agreed, feeling an inexplicable joy in my heart. Knowing he was outside, I felt completely at ease. All the tension and hardship since my rebirth had vanished. I slept so soundly for the first time that I almost missed the morning class. As I jumped up and ran, Shen Lang looked at me and laughed. Wipe the drool from the corner of your mouth. Is it really necessary to be so anxious about praying for that old woman? She hasn't even treated you well. Yes, the old lady did not treat me well. In my previous life, she was well aware of everything Xiao Yu did to me, but he is her son, so she must protect him. As for my life and death, how could it compare to Xiao Yu's reputation? So I came to copy scriptures and pray for blessings sincerely, but not for her, it was for Shenlang. I prayed that he could pass the life and death crisis from his previous life. My wedding with Shenlang proceeded as scheduled, simple yet solemn. Madame Shen knew I didn't want extravagance, but she also felt that keeping it too simple would be unfair to me, so he had General Shen enter the palace and requested a royal bestowment of a headdress for me. This headdress alone made all the guests envious. Xiao Yu did not appear. It was said he was unwell at his residence. He and Liu Ruoyun had completely broken off their relationship. I told you so, those two losers can't live well without me. After marriage, Shenlang kept his promise and didn't restrict me. He went north, I went south. I was no longer a caged bird confined to the inner chambers, but a wandering doctor healing the world. I gaze upon the scenery of Jiangnan and attend to the suffering of the people, feeling an unprecedented sense of ease in my heart. Shenlang rarely writes to me, but he gives me all of his military pay. Compared to what I earn, what he gives is indeed not much, but it is earned with his life. I have saved all of it for him. If his beloved is willing to marry him, then it shall be handed over to her. Thinking that there was a woman who had betrayed Shenlang, such an upright young general, I couldn't help but curse under my breath. She must be blind. In the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed, relying on memories from my past life. I kept a close watch on the military situation at Jushu Mountain, which had led to his tragic death in the previous life. Perhaps due to the changes in cause and effect after rebirth, that battle was delayed by 4 years. When I learned of Northern Liang's movements, I immediately set out for the border and met Shenlang first. Everything was just as in my previous life. An army 10 times his size from Northern Liang was at the city gates, and the reinforcements he had long awaited never arrived. This was Xiao Yu's doing in the imperial court. He finally seized the opportunity to deliver a fatal blow to Shenlang, just as in his previous life. Shenlang intended to lead a small team to raid the enemy camp, but I stopped him. Although the Northern Liang cavalry were brave and skilled in battle, they had come from afar and were struggling with supplies. I knew the location where they stored their provisions and had him send men to burn it all to the ground. The morale of the Northern Liang army was thrown into chaos. Shenlang led his troops to fight once more, and in one vigorous push, drove the Northern Liang forces back 500 miles. In this battle, Shenlang not only avoided the tragedy of his previous life but also achieved a remarkable victory against overwhelming odds, turning the tables brilliantly and further enhancing his military achievements. Meanwhile, Xiao Yu was exposed for obstructing reinforcements and military provisions, leading the emperor to strip him of his position. News from the capital often arrived. The marriage between Xiao Yu and Liu Ruoyun had become a laughingstock. Not a single moment of their lives was as sweet as in their past life. Liu Ruoyun, unable to let go of the matter with the portrait, grew wildly jealous, frequently resorting to scolding and beating, leading to constant quarrels with Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu was already unsettled by my departure and Shenlang's smugness, often staring blankly in the direction adjacent to the general's residence. He grew increasingly cold towards Liu Ruoyun, even reluctant to deal with her. Liu Ruoyun was greatly agitated, and her mental state deteriorated further. In the end, she even poisoned the well in the prince's mansion. She has completely lost her mind. When discovered, the prince's residence had suffered several casualties. The most lamentable case was that of Xiao Yu, who was deeply poisoned and suffered mental impairment. He transformed from an aloof and noble heir into an innocent and mischievous child. This matter shocked the entire court. The Xiao family had no choice but to chain the deranged Liu Ruoyun with iron chains, confining her in a dark servant's room to let her fend for herself. From then on, the Huayan prince's mansion declined. The dowager Lady Xiao died in the winter of the following year. He died in agony from an asthma attack. The last news was that one day, Xiao Yu suddenly regained consciousness for a moment. He brought a bottle of arsenic and sang a nursery rhyme at my door. It was the same song he used to sing to comfort me when I first entered the prince's mansion and secretly cried from missing my father. Everyone said that the little girl from the Tang family was as beautiful as a painting, bold and poised, never afraid to face people. No one knew the fear in my heart when I first entered the prince's mansion, living under someone else's roof. Only he said to me solemnly, "Don't be afraid, Big Brother will protect you for a lifetime." After singing the nursery rhyme, he drank the red-crowned crane poison in one gulp. "Wanna, this is my repayment to you." He died outside the gate of my old courtyard. He must have recalled the memories of his past life. Not daring to take another step into that small courtyard until his death, life at the border was tough, but it was free. The two elders of the Shun family often wrote letters, and between the lines, they began to express their longing for a grandchild. I know Shun Lang has his beloved in his heart. I don't want to occupy this position and keep lovers apart, nor do I want to prevent Lady Shun, who loves and protects me, from enjoying the joy of grandchildren. One day, I found an opportunity and said to him seriously, Shun Lang, why is your beloved unwilling to marry? Is it because I took your wife's place? Then let's separate. Shun Lang was wiping his sword when he paused at her words, his ears quietly turning red. He lowered his head, his voice almost inaudible. She still refuses to marry me sincerely. Wanna, could you wait a little longer, please? He looked as pitiful as the calico cat I used to raise, making my heart ache with sorrow. I wanted to say, why don't you stop waiting for her? In your past life, you waited until death and she never came, but the words caught in my throat. When it comes to matters of the heart, what do I truly understand? Perhaps this lifetime is already different. After Northern Liang's distant retreat, the border pass gradually grew prosperous. When spring arrived, Lady Shun insisted on coming to see for herself. I had already agreed with Shun Lang that I would leave after the new year. This time, I want to go see the vast sea. Since old Lady Shun is coming, I absolutely cannot leave now. We still have to pretend to be an affectionate young couple. The old Lady Shun often chats with me about everyday matters. Listening to her, I gradually became quite engrossed. That silly boy Lang. Ever since he first saw you when you were just 10 years old and had just entered the prince's mansion, he came back insisting on moving his courtyard next to yours, every time he returns from the border. Even in the dead of winter, he insists on practicing martial arts in the yard bare-chested, just hoping you might take a glance over the wall. No matter where you go, always bring something with you, secretly prepared as a betrothal gift. Later, when he heard that you admired the heir of the Xiao family, he fell seriously ill at the border, heartbroken. Even so, he never told you. He only thought that if you liked the heir of the Xiao family, he should step aside and not disturb you. Oh dear. My silly son, that day when you took the initiative to say you'd marry him, he was so excited when he came to talk to me and his father that he couldn't even string his words together. We thought he was possessed by a ghost. I actually felt tears welling up. It turned out that those coincidences, those stubborn denials, and those seemingly casual acts of protection were all hiding a young man's long, clumsy, yet profound affection and devotion. It turned out that I was the one he held in his heart. That night, when Shun Lang returned to his room, I took the initiative and held his hand. He froze, his eyes filled with unbelievable delight. The red candle flickered, and we finally became husband and wife in the truest sense. We were blessed with a lively and adorable daughter. He named her Tian Tian. He said he couldn't think of a more fitting name. Extra chapter. Tian Tian was growing up day by day, always pestering Shun Lang to tell her stories from the battlefield. One day, she looked up at me with her little face and asked, Mom, is Dad a really great general? I smiled and ruffled her hair, saying, yes, your dad is amazing. I glanced at Shun Lang, who was pretending to read a military book but was actually listening intently, and deliberately raised my voice, saying, back then, it was me, your mom, who begged to marry your dad. He even rejected me 4 times, saying I was dreaming. This is something I've always held a grudge about. This was also the only heroic feat Shun Lang later dared to boast about in front of me. Hearing this, Shun Lang threw down his book and rushed over to cover my mouth, his face turning bright red. The 3 of us burst into laughter. I am so grateful that in this life, I did not give up on myself. I broke free from the cage, met the right person, and lived freely and joyfully. Even when my hair turns white and my life comes to an end, I will feel no regrets. Shun Lang sat by my bedside with Tian Tian, holding my hand tightly, his aged face streaked with tears. He leaned down close to my ear and, through choked sobs, revealed the secret he had buried for a lifetime. Wanna, that day, I was overjoyed. What I meant to say was, I've dreamed of marrying you all along. But I couldn't say it out loud. I was afraid you were deliberately teasing me. It turned out that the dream I had been brooding over was followed by an omitted part, his unrestrained, ecstatic true feelings. I raised my hand and gently wiped away his tears. You're already a grandfather. Why are you still so prone to crying? He held my hand tightly against his face. Wanna, without you, I have nowhere else to cry, but I like to see you smile. He forced a grin, which looked even more pitiful than crying. Forget it, I whispered. If you want to cry, then cry. I closed my eyes contentedly. This life was worth it. 3 days later, I saw him again. I panicked. Why did you come down too? He smiled with great satisfaction, just like the young man under the sun and moon. Tang Wanna, Aren't I impressive? I can go wherever I want.